here live at Shelley's Back Room, 1331 F Street in the heart of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. This is the best political talk show you've never heard of. It is Backroom Politics, live on Spreaker. Hey, joining us right now, he is the Department of Justice correspondent for your L.A. Times. He is the New York Times best-selling author now, Del Wilber, the author of his latest book, Good Month for Murder. Del, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and smoke in my aging room.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. It's a good place to do it. And you get to drink, eat, and smoke and be interviewed for your book. Hey, a lot of stuff we want to cover, but let's start off with your book. A Good Month for Murder. Was released within the past month. A remarkable read talking about your time shadowing the homicide unit in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is the next county over from the District of Columbia. What made you pick, out of all of the major departments in the country, why did you pick Prince George's County to shadow?
Because they let me do it.
Oh, that's a good reason. They're the only ones that said yes.
They're the only ones crazy enough to say yes. No.
You made a wise decision.
Yeah, right. I really liked... I picked Prince George's County because so far, like this book is really, I wanted to write a book. I've always been fascinated by police work, and I wanted to peel back the veil on how homicide detectives do their job. It's the most consequential job in law enforcement, speaking for the dead. And I wanted to do that story. I wanted to embed, be a fly on the wall, see how the sausage is really made. To do that, I wanted to find a unique place. New York's been done endlessly. LA's been done endlessly. Baltimore was done 25 years ago. What hasn't been done? Suburbia. And so I wanted to pick a diverse suburb that would be both familiar and foreign to readers. Prince George's County, 900,000 plus residents, has everything from farmland in the southern part of the county all the way north and towards D.C., where you are on the line between D.C. and Maryland, and you can't tell if you're in D.C. or you're in Maryland. It's the same, unless you look at the street sign and see the telltale northeast or southeast.
Right. When you got the approval to do this, you picked December of all months. What made you go with that month in December? Again, was this a matter of that's what they told you, or was there a reason behind doing it in December at this time with Prince George's County?
No, so I actually embedded with them from November of 2012 to May of 2013.
Oh, so it was longer than that.
And
as he likes his cigar. Bad for radio.
As I was looking over what I had in about May or June of 2013, I realized I'd come across the perfect way to frame a book about homicide detectives, in that the month of February they had 12 murders and 3 police shootings.
Right.
Furious hunt for a Red Ball murder, which you and I talked about on Sidewire, where Red Ball is, a high-profile murder. And it was... my diversity of victims was intense. I want everything from drug dealers to a 71-year-old lady stabbed to death for her $40 television set to a 15-year-old killed for the shoes he was carrying. In a very compressed period, like my first book.
Yeah,
Rawhide Down, one day in history.
One day, right.
I love moments where you stress characters to their max. It was a crazy period because that's when your true character is revealed.
Right.
At that moment of critical, overload.
Right.
And that's what I liked, and I did that.
So, when we talk about, shadowing a police unit, like a homicide unit in a major police department like Prince George's County, the thin blue line obviously comes into play. Cops are notoriously defensive when it comes to dealing with journalists and the media as a whole. How did you get them to warm up to you? Was that a challenge?
No, the police chief was really great. He was like, this guy's coming in, let him have access to everything. They gave me an ID and a badge, and they let me go, I was the only one in the office answering calls one night,
really?
On New Year's Eve. I was it. They trusted me that much. And I think part of it was they knew my credentials. Part of it was I covered law enforcement a long time. And part of it was I think they were sincere when I said, I want to do a story shadowing to tell it what it really is like. And no hold barred, unvarnished. And in doing that, they opened up pretty quickly. And, these characters are crazy. I have a diet pill-popping cheeseburger eater, a chain-smoking vegan, the female quarterback of a semi-pro football team, and a dude who bragged about the herbal erection enhancers he took.
By the way, this is a family show, just let you know, Del.
And those were the detectives.
Right.
And so they quickly were not worried about any of that stuff, and I was there for it all. You know?
When you talk about embedding yourself with a homicide unit, I mean, these are not vice cases. This is not Law and Order that we see on Tuesdays on NBC. No. These are real life cases that you're actually witness to, helping shadow the investigation. Was that an eye-opening experience for you? Did you learn something new about the homicide process?
Yeah, it gave me a real appreciation, and I really learned that to be a good homicide detective, you have to be dogged, creative, and lucky. It also gave me a really great appreciation for gallows humor and how you get through it. Like, by the end of this period, I was burned out on death. I had PTSD issues. It was really awful.
Right.
And I didn't, at the beginning, appreciate the gallows humor. I thought it was a little raw. Like, joking about sex over a corpse. I'm like, that's kind of disrespectful. By the end, I understood it. I got it, and I was partaking in it, and I would not have gotten through it without it. And I'm glad I had 6 months to decompress after that before I started at Bloomberg News, my previous employer,
right?
Because they would not have appreciated some of the jokes,
right? Oh, I'm sure.
But that was a totally different world, man.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing.
Love
is,
Bloomberg.
But yeah, not Bloomberg. The homicide unit is a completely different world.
But that's also a completely different world.
Right. So when you were writing this book, you obviously saw the cases that you describe in the book. What was the worst homicide scene that you saw? How did you deal with it when you first got into it?
Oh my God, man, I saw so much horror. It was really instructive too. It's not a game. This is real. Like, these are real people who are gone, and you're standing over their lifeless body. It's just a very intense experience, and you feel like almost beholden to that person in a way, who's now gone. The worst thing for me, though, the hardest thing, was not actually the scenes. I went to a murder scene where I slipped on a guy's brain matter, and his brain was blown all over the wall at the foot of the door of his mother's apartment, and she was still in the apartment, and the detective was interviewing her as she was looking over her son. That was really hard, but the hardest part about that was, like, 3 days later, he got the security video footage back from what happened, and you could see the lead up to that murder. You see these guys chasing him up the vestibule, and he had his 2-year-old son with him. And the boy's little juice box was in his puddle of blood that I saw. The boy got grazed. He was fine. And watching that video over and over and over again, like, wrecked my mind. Like, this guy watched it 100 times. I probably watched it 50. And by the 30th, 40th, 50th time I watched it, I was cheering for him to get away. Like, it became so real for me at that moment watching, like, Nico, get away. Run. Get out of there. You know? And I knew what happened to him. I saw the guys chase him up into the vestibule, and then the video shows them running out, and I knew what happened. It's weird. It's like, you know, it's like watching a horror movie.
Now, it was
real.
But with Prince George's County being a suburb of D.C., also in Maryland, not far, maybe 40 minutes south of Baltimore, when you saw the interaction, with the community, that not just the homicide detectives, but the first responding officers on the scene, etc., did you get a new appreciation for either the relevance of the thin blue line that everybody talks about, and did you see the intolerance of police as they dealt with the community?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there were aspects of not so much intolerance, but frustration. Like, there was one detective went and knocked on some woman's door, knocked on the door, and so I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see something. Oh, wait a minute. I heard someone tell me they heard gunshots. She was on the phone. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, the person I was on the phone thought she heard gunshots through my phone and told me there were gunshots, but I didn't hear or see anything myself. And, you know, of course, come on. If you can hear it, if the other person heard it, you heard it. But she didn't want to get involved.
Right.
And it was very frustrating to them. I do not get into some deep criminological, sociological... The book's going to be a Rorschach test for people.
Right.
People are going to brace. So people are going to look at these guys went too far. They are mean. Other people are going to read the book and say, these guys didn't go far enough. Other people say, you didn't deal enough with this issue. Other people say, you dealt too much with this issue. And it's been a Rorschach test for me to watch people come and read it. All I want to do is write a book that says, this is what it's like. These are who these guys are. It's really important to the discussion we're having now in policing, what you just raised. And you need to know this data point, what it's like in their shoes.
Go ahead, Alan Moore.
Yeah, just a question. We hear constantly about the desire of citizens, of potential witnesses, not to help, not to participate, not to share what they know. Sometimes it's because they worry about their own safety or that of their family. Sometimes it's because they don't trust the police. What can you talk about what you observed on
I think those are all. There's a real serious, code of silence, no snitching. Snitches get stitches.
Right.
That's all true. It all is right. It's all real. I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of it just inherent distrust, But again, the lens is in my book. I view my job as a storyteller to be kind of like I mount a camera on someone's shoulder.
Right.
And I'm showing their world how they view it. And so I don't want to
a printed body cam, if you will.
Yeah, right. And I don't flip lenses to people who aren't in the story, I wanted to keep it very tightly focused. So I channel that through them. There were some interesting storytelling techniques I used in the book where sometimes I couldn't tell this. There was a great anecdote there, and it wouldn't work as a standalone. So I had to funnel it through another person, one of the characters' minds. But it's very difficult. So I didn't get into it, but it's there. It's there. And it's long-standing. There are a lot of good books written about that.
I brought up the whole Law and Order factor. People watching TV and they think that these cases are done in 60 minutes, and everything goes from the call to the actual conviction, and I can get this done in less than a season. Did this change your outlook on how a criminal investigation, let alone a homicide investigation, was done in your mind? The process.